WWE Extreme Rules 2022 is in the books, and we have got our Bray Wyatt back. What's going on, guys? Good to see you. Happy Sunday night. Happy Saturday night. Happy WWE PLE Extreme Rules 2022 evening to you. I thought the show was really hinging on the return of Bray Wyatt, the White Rabbit reveal. As the show went on, I'm like, I really hope that happens in the end, kind of in order to save the pay-per-view, because in my opinion, it fell maybe a little bit short of expectations. I was very much looking forward to tonight, and I thought a lot of the matches on the show tonight really came through, especially in the beginning, the way they kicked off things with that Donnie Brook match, which I thought was fantastic. But a couple of the matches went opposite ways. My predictions, I got a couple of matches wrong here. They kind of reversed a couple of things that I thought that they were going to do. And as the night grew closer, I just wasn't feeling Bray Wyatt showing up in any particular match. I figured if he was going to show up, it would be at the very end, and I think WWE disguised it pretty well. There were some rumors throughout the show. Fightful Select dropped an article about an hour or so left to go in the show, a big spoiler saying that there was going to be something major happening at the end. Some people thought that could even be Brock Lesnar coming out to maybe challenge Riddle at a Crown Jewel or get involved in that fight pit match somehow. But luckily, it did turn out to be the White Rabbit, and Bray Wyatt has returned to the company. We will talk about it. I want to hear what you guys think. What did you think of the reveal, the ending, how Bray Wyatt looked, kind of sporting a new look, but the way we had all of the Firefly Funhouse characters in the audience, and there was a lot of references to that, but now he's got a brand new mask, but he took it off to reveal how Bray Wyatt looked maybe in like 2017 or so, kind of that version of Bray Wyatt. Amazing pop, an Undertaker return or Kane return level pop in my mind for Bray Wyatt fans. Elated to see him back, as am I, and really excited to see what the hell angle they're going with here. I think October is the perfect month to return and reveal Bray Wyatt, given that it's Halloween month, and this seems to be some sort of a spooky, horror-ish type of gimmick that he's going to be going with here. But I thought the reveal was really fun. When I saw the little watermark in the corner when they were going off the air, I'm like, no, please, let's get Bray Wyatt. And then as Riddle is leaving, the lights go out, and I'm like, thank God. So once you started hearing he's got the whole world in his hands, you knew it was Wyatt. We knew it was Wyatt already, but this gave us confirmation. They did all the deals in the audience, and then they cut to the door, which was kicked down, and then a figure with a lantern comes in, brand new mask, takes off the mask to reveal that it is, in fact, Bray Wyatt, as we thought it would be. And I thought it was a really fun ending to the show. Everything that they did leading up to this, I thought, was really well done. The QR code stuff was innovative, and even though we kind of had a feeling and knew it was going to be Bray Wyatt, they really didn't drag this out too long. I was surprised some fans really wanted this reveal to come sooner, and I'm like, I think Extreme Rules is the perfect place for it. So glad we got it here. Didn't think it overstayed its welcome, and it got a great reaction from the Philadelphia crowd tonight. Everybody lost their shit, and it was a cool reveal, I must say. So I'm interested to hear and to read what you guys have to say. Let me cruise over here to the chat and say hello to everybody. Please do me a favor if you don't mind. Smash that thumbs up button. And if you're here for the first time, generally we'll have a bigger audience for pay-per-view nights, and you're not a subscriber, please make sure you subscribe. We are here all the time doing all sorts of fun stuff. So we will be getting into the pay-per-view tonight. We'll be talking about a little bit of wrestling news as well. We have some Jon Moxley and AEW news and Renee Paquette news as well. We'll get into, and we'll talk about the Extreme Rules card. We'll shoot the shit. We'll answer questions. We will hang out tonight, and it should be a dandy time. So interested to see and read what you guys thought. Let me cruise up here to the chat and start welcoming some of the family members. I see Nick Musser in the house. So is Divine Ricks. You're here as well. Al Ramos Pro, good to see you. Zane G, Zach Palgett. We've got Jeff McMahon. We've got Tatanani in the house. We have, these are all the channel members anyway. George Morris chiming in with $5. Thank you so much, dude. Hey, Greg, how are you doing, and how are your cats? My cat, Bree, popped in the bath tub. Pooped. Ravishing Rick Rude's original theme is on the SS Anthology. Oh, okay. You told me that you got that SummerSlam Anthology, I think, in the last stream. And that's weird because Rick Rude, they have completely destroyed his theme on any Peacock episodes that you watch with a Rick Rude match. It's terrible in WWE. So I'm glad to see and hear that it remains intact for the SummerSlam Anthology, because what they did to it on Peacock was brutal. But thanks for everything, George. Clean out your bathtub. I know it's never fun when your cat's popping it. You know, I've been there. Thomas, thank you very much for the $5. Message deleted by Zach Palgett. Why did you delete that, Zach? Was it bad or something? Thomas, I appreciate that super chat. No idea what you said, but I don't know why Zach deleted that either. Hopefully it wasn't anything too gnarly, but thank you, dude. Chris Ludecki, appreciate 5 from you. Good. Okay, why are we hiding this dude? Good show with a huge pop at the end, but I think Damage Control is irrelevant, and Drew is starting to feel like he's getting jobbed out, to be honest. Good show. Yeah, huge pop at the end. Damage Control is irrelevant. I wouldn't say Damage Control is irrelevant, but Damage Control is missing something. They have not gotten over to the degree that I thought they would. Even Bayley feels a little bit flat in her return. I don't think Drew was getting jobbed out. I think this was Drew's job, was to get, this new guy, Karrion Kross, who they're going to make, one of their main players. You kind of have to put him over in this situation, whoever Kross was going to face. Kross was going to have to beat them, in my mind, because Drew is a made man. He's beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. In my mind, if you beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, you are never a jobber again, So I think people like Drew can afford a loss. He's got some star power in the company, and he's got a good spot on the card. That's the exact type of guy you want for someone like Kross to beat if you are trying to establish him. Kross kind of had to win in that situation, so I don't feel like Drew is getting jobbed out at all, and don't feel like that's what's happening, but I can understand that some might have that opinion, though. Victor Colon in the house as well. Good to see you. And we got Deshaun Robinson is here as well. JJ Legg up in here. Chris Barrera, trying to get all the channel members shouted out first. And who else is here? Angie Legg is in the house. Good to see you. We got Manic. We got WWE fan Al Johnson, Anthony Garcia, Ajax, Dean, Dave, Wrestle Austin, Sonic Plays, Lysander Smith. Like I said, Angie, good to see you. Zolo, Mango Salsa, Big J, J Lambo. David Brown, did I get you earlier? Not sure. Ted Matrix, good to see you. Yachiro, we got Zolo. We got Divine Ricks. Okay, here's another one from Tomas. What does this say? I said I prefer WWE 6-match pay-per-views over AEW's 6-match bloated cards. Quality over quantity, plus Wyatt's return was awesome. I don't think that warrants a message deletion. So, Zach, chill out. Don't be deleting shit like that. Only if it's like racist stuff and asshole stuff. If they just have an opinion you don't agree with, you can't erase that. So don't make me take away your moderating, privileges or whatnot. But AEW's 16-match bloated cards. WWE's done plenty of large cards as well. I think for the fan experience, what I've noticed from a lot of the feedback on some of these big pay-per-views, and I've kind of had some opinions on this before, is a lot of fans do complain when the shows are too long. But as wrestling fans, and if you're buying a ticket to a show many months in advance, you see it on your calendar, can't you take a nap that day or something? Like, I don't understand. Like, oh, I'm an old man. I'm the one getting tired here. You guys are young. You got all the energy. Or maybe, Thomas, you're not as old as me. But I see a lot of people always complaining about the length of the show. Now, if we have 5, 6, 7-hour-long WrestleManias, I understand that. Those shows were brutal. Splitting it off into 2 nights was probably the right thing to do. But I was at Double or Nothing. I never got tired. And they still crammed that many matches into a card that remained in relatively decent time restraints. If I remember right, All Out, with all of those matches that they had, they remained within 4 hours. And I think 3 hours is almost maybe a little bit too short for a pay-per-view. I think 3.5 is a better length for a pay-per-view. 3.5 and maybe pushing 4, but really no more than 4. So the fact that AEW had all those matches, but they got it in all within that time, I think there's nothing really wrong with it. I don't see what's wrong with trying to get as much of your talent on the show as possible, because we also see everybody complaining that nobody's getting enough TV time. So AEW or Tony Khan or whoever trying to put as many people on the card as possible, I can understand that can bloat out the matches and the card a little bit, and it can maybe shorten up some time for matches that would necessarily or normally go longer. I get that, but I always feel like, if you get into 5, 6, 7-hour territory, I understand the crowd can get burnt out, but on a Saturday night, when tomorrow's an off day, for most people anyway who work the 9 to 5 Monday through Friday thing, I don't, but for most people, that's what they do. My advice is take a nap, man, and get ready for a few extra hours of wrestling. I don't think it's going to kill you to spend 5 hours watching a form of entertainment that you really love. It's just a weird complaint to me that fans tend to have. So I'm cool with the length of the shows. I think 16 matches is a lot, and I think when you have something a little bit shorter, it makes the matches feel more important. Every single match tonight had some pretty decent meaning to it, with the exception of maybe the opener. But once they opened with that and got that awesome Donnie Brook out of the way, I felt like each match had, stakes at hand, and there was a lot surrounding it, and I was really excited to see the outcome of every match after that. So 6 pay-per-view cards also have, they have their bonuses as well, but another thing you got to take in consideration is AEW is not running the same amount of pay-per-views that WWE is. What are they running, 4 or 6, something like that? What are they running, Revolution and Double or Nothing, and then All Out and Full Gear? And then they have a lot of the themed Dynamites, but that's 4 pay-per-views. WWE runs 12. So WWE can get away with running a 6-match card if they have 12 pay-per-views to give talent matches on. But if AEW only has 4, you would think that those pay-per-views, since there's fewer of them, will have more matches. It's just normal, logical math to me. So no, Tomas, I don't believe your comments deserve to be deleted. Zach, don't do that again. But I respectfully kind of disagree with the bloated card concept. Deshaun, appreciate the $2 from you. Alexa just tweeted, "Hello, old friend. It's coming." That's what we have still to figure out as it relates to Bray Wyatt. We only saw his face at the end of the show. We have no idea what his motivation is going to be, what his plans are, what he's here to do, who he's here to feud with. If he's starting a faction, is he going to be by himself? What's Bray Wyatt going to do? That's going to be the fun part. And we've got the season premiere of Monday Night Raw on Monday. So if he's going to be on Raw, we will see him for sure. If they primarily plan to use him on SmackDown, then we might just get some more creepy shit on Raw on Monday and save him in the flesh until Friday. I don't know. I don't even know what the creative plans are for Bray. When it was revealed that it probably would be Bray, when that speculation started gaining the most ground, I don't know if there was any reports as to what WWE had planned internally and where they planned to place him. I thought at one time they said SmackDown, but he could be anywhere. I'd love to see him on Raw. But that looks like it's going to be a pretty big deal, pretty big character, and really interested to see who he feuds with if he gets into the title picture and if they can avoid fucking him up the way they did The Fiend. So hopefully a lot of what they do, because Bray Wyatt is a very, bizarre and complex character, and everything surrounding him, his stories will probably also be bizarre and complex. These are things in my mind that you really have to take your time on when you're writing out and planning, and hopefully with some of the new members of WWE's creative team, that horror movie guy, and with Bray Wyatt, most likely now that Vince is gone, being a little bit more hands-on with whatever they're going to do here, I'm ready to see this shit. It's going to be awesome. And if Alexa does get involved there, she should. They definitely need to address that because they had a very interesting final match together, the two of them. And I feel like there's unresolved business there, and it would be cool if Alexa started acting a little bit weird. Hell, Liv Morgan acted a little bit weird tonight in the match with Ronda Rousey, kind of smiling in that submission. So maybe if Alexa starts acting a little weird, maybe it's the presence of Bray Wyatt that's kind of doing that, and she kind of deprogrammed from all that craziness with all of the psychiatrist segments on Raw and whatnot. But it shouldn't be hard for her to, fall off the wagon and wind up reverting back to those old ways if Bray has any sort of control over her still. So Alexa's only one small part of a lot of questions, unanswered questions that we have regarding Bray Wyatt. Zach, what's up? Thanks for the $2 total accident. I tried to at him, Tom. I'll Venmo you. Okay, so that was an accident. I'm about to say, don't be deleting people, dude. Appreciate that. I'm glad that was a mistake. Population 420, member for 2 months. Good to see you, my man. Let me in for real. I'm glad the White Rabbit has finally debuted, and we'll see what kind of, if he does wind up coming out to the Jefferson Airplane song, or if that was just part of the build to him returning. I would like to see him come out to that. I just think it would be awesome and a bizarre visual to see him just walking down a dark entranceway there with maybe one spotlight shining on him with that song playing, the fans singing it. It could be the new Judas. I'm into it, man. Zane G, appreciate you being here, man. Thank you so much for that $10. I call a botch. Wouldn't you have felt WWE kind of rushed down at the very end as the watermark was shown, but the cameras were still on with the Wyatt return? You call a botch. Wouldn't you have felt WWE kind of rushed down at the very end as the maybe. I guess I'd have to watch it back to try to see what you're saying. I think they were trying to juke us out with the watermark because once they do that, generally the pay-per-view goes off the air. And luckily for them, they didn't wait too long because you also want to time that perfectly. You don't want to show the little watermark and act like you're going off the air and then wait another 30 seconds because by then, if fans see that, they might click it off. And then if Bray Wyatt comes back, it's too late. Too many eyeballs have left. So I think as soon as you saw that there, that's when the lights came down. So if you mean like the watermark was or the signature there, the logo in the corner was a botch, I don't think it was. I think they meant to do that just to make the fans think briefly that the show was over. But I could be wrong. Who knows what we'll read about that, because I'm sure there will be upcoming reports on the return of Bray Wyatt, what was known about it internally, what the talent was told, maybe even what some of the creative plans are in the future for this entire gimmick. I'll be interested to read it all. So you might be there. You might be right there, Zane, but a lot of times at the end of these pay-per-views, I'm scrambling trying to get the stream ready too, so I'm not paying 100% attention like I should be for someone that comes up here on YouTube and gives you guys fucking reviews. Does Sean Robinson appreciate $2 more from you? Halloween takes place on a Monday. I'll tell you what, if somebody gives me a $1,000 super chat, I will do a Raw review on Halloween dressed as Bianca Belair. There you go. The race is on. Okay, I think that's about it. I should be getting into the show here, too. Robert Billings, you guys give me any grades? What'd you guys think? As I start talking here, oh, here we go. Here's some more grades. Here we got 8 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 for Bray's debut, Extreme Rules 5 out of 10. That was what I kind of felt like was happening during the show. I thought that the show had incredible hype going into it, and I think a lot of fans are really excited for this. For a non-pay-per-view, a non-Big Four pay-per-view, I should say, to have this much excitement and enthusiasm amongst the fans, I thought was really exciting. It's only, Money in the Bank sometimes will give you this feel, but nothing else really will. And for them to come through here on everything, on all 6 of these matches, was going to be a tall order. And I think overall the show was maybe just missing a bit. I don't at all believe that this pay-per-view was bad or PLE. I'm just not ready to say PLE yet. I'm sorry. Just respect my privacy in that I'm just not emotionally ready. Eventually I'll start saying it, but for now it's still pay-per-views. So I thought this pay-per-view was definitely good. It wasn't bad. It just, maybe in my head, I thought it was going to be a little bit better. And it had some, some dead spots in the middle, I felt like. But in my head, I also knew that if we did see Bray Wyatt return at the end of the show, that was going to make it all better. So I think this show will go down as a pretty good show because it did mark the return of Bray Wyatt, and that made up for any of the, any parts of the show that might have been lacking in some fans' mind. You know what I mean? That's the way I feel about it anyway. But it looks like you guys are kind of in line with that in terms of how the show came off. There we go. We have a lot of 8 out of 10s, B+, 7.9 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 7, 9 out of 10, right on. Victor Colon, $2 more. Has this type of return with the watermark. Yeah, Triple H has done this type before. Yeah, I know stuff like this has happened before, so it was just a juke out. I want to welcome Michael Hughes to the family. Thank you very much for signing up, my friend, and becoming a channel member. You too can do that by clicking the join button right below this video or the link in the description. Michael, it's great to have you as a member of the family, and I will be putting up a post real soon, probably this weekend before the weekend's over, so we can start deciding on our next members-only watch-along. So we'll be talking about that first amongst family members, and we'll be having that scheduled in a week or two here in October. I think I've got everybody, knocked out all the super chats for now. Any more that come in, we will get to here in just a little bit, but I think we should start getting into Extreme Rules, and maybe we should talk about a little wrestling news first. Jon Moxley has signed a 5-year extension with AEW. They issued a statement, I believe it was yesterday, to announce this signing, and his new contract includes a mentorship and coaching role in the company. So he's going to stick around there for their long term. I love this news a lot. I'm glad that Moxley is kind of planting his flag there and making a statement. I feel like he's signing this contract to make a point, saying, let's do this. He's going to be, their locker room leader. And I think that's his way of just showing his alliance to the company, and hopefully can start, rallying some troops based on all of the nonsense and the turmoil that's been going on in the company. If they were, Jon Moxley never struck me as anybody, even with as bad as things are going in AEW right now, he's been treated unbelievably, and he's been given a lot of support by that company. It would be shitty of him to leave, to be honest, how Tony Khan gave him that time off for the rehab and how much he hated his final days in WWE, and the fact that he's a, three-time champion at AEW, it's not that shocking that he re-signed, but signing on for that long, makes a statement that he's there for the long haul, and that's where he wants to be, and hopefully, that will help, gauge a lot of talent's, attention as well, and make AEW still a very, very good place to sign. So that made me really happy that Jon Moxley is sticking around AEW. That's a perfect place for him. And according to an article from Fightful Select today, their sources told them in WWE, the belief in WWE last night at SmackDown was that Renee Paquette would also be heading to AEW. We know that Renee had a big, long, no-compete clause with WWE when she left them. Surely and certainly that's got to be up now, and Renee can do whatever she wants, and there's been rumors of her joining AEW for the past couple of years, but now that Moxley is signed on for 5 more years, not that surprising that they might bring her in to do some stuff, and I think that they should. Renee would be a great get for them. I don't know if they're going to start doing kickoff shows like WWE does with a little panel off from the ring for 30 minutes before each show, but she can definitely be an asset to them. Renee's great, and I hope the Moxleys both wind up with jobs in AEW when this is all said and done. Best of luck to the both of them, and awesome news coming out of AEW. But anyway, it's a WWE night. It's their pay-per-view, and there's a lot to get into. So on the kickoff show tonight, WWE had no matches, but there was one little White Rabbit clue. I didn't really catch it. I was watching Rosenberg flap his gums about something, and the screen started glitching out or whatnot, and they gave us some other clue as to what we might see later on. So we knew that there was a good possibility to see the White Rabbit. A lot of fans were posting pictures outside the arena of rabbit costumes walking around and shit, so they were teasing it all night, and we knew that it was pretty likely. So the show opened up with what I thought would open, the big 6-man Donnie Brook match, the Brawling Brutes taking on Imperium. Of course, last night, Sheamus and Gunther had their Intercontinental title rematch on SmackDown, which Gunther won with a lot of help from Imperium. There was even one point where Sheamus had him in the cloverleaf or whatever it was, and it looked like he tapped, but I think he was more tapping maybe out of pain instead of not saying I quit, and ref Jessica did not call for the bell, and he was able to recover, and with Imperium's help and the help from the Shillelagh, he was able to beat and retain the title over Sheamus. So in my predictions, I said whichever man wins on SmackDown, his team will lose the match at the pay-per-view. So Sheamus, of course, lost the IC match, and I predicted the Brutes to win this one. It was really, really fun. Now, during the Brawling Brutes entrance, there was another White Rabbit tease. Something glitched out and invaded the entrance shot, so more White Rabbit stuff there. And once they got in the ring, Imperium was already there waiting. The brawl just starts immediately. Now, around ringside, they've got barrels, like big wine barrels set up. They've got an old school, big wooden, heavy oak-looking bar, like a bar set up with a picture of Sheamus' grandfather on it, apparently. So all that stuff is there, and the brawl just immediately kicks off. Right when the bell rings, they're on top of each other, brawling everywhere, a million camera cuts, impossible to keep up with this type of stuff. It's so dizzying, but right off the bat, they've smashed the bar, they've smashed through all of the barrels, and they're just beating the hell out of each other. Sheamus and Walter both still sporting their welts from just 24 hours ago in their IC match last night on SmackDown, and they are just still not holding back. One of my favorite spots of the whole match, maybe even my favorite, was when the Brutes, Butch and Ridge, had Gunther tied in the ropes, and Sheamus is doing I guess Sheamus has him, and he's doing his thing over the top rope that he always does, but then the Brutes come in and start putting the boots to Walter, and he's just getting the shit kicked out of him. He's screaming, and he's just got arms and legs raining upon his head, and he's screaming throughout the whole thing. It was fucking great. Amazing shot to the back. I think Sheamus has got Gunther down, and I don't remember if it was Vinci or if it was Kaiser Soze or whoever the fuck it was, but they come in with the shillelagh and smash it across the back of Sheamus, and it just shatters. A piece of it ricochets back and almost lands on Corey Graves or in the audience or something, and you could see the sweat fly off of Sheamus's back when he took that. Another spot on the outside of the ring was Gunther getting put through the table by Sheamus, because Gunther, I think, is on the ring apron when there's some action going on in the ring, and Sheamus just comes up from behind him, gets him basically in razor's edge, and just tosses him right into the announce table. That goes down, and back in the ring, Sheamus would wind up hitting Vinci with the bro kick for the win in an incredible match. We knew this one was going to be good. The Brutes, is as angry as a lot of us were, especially me, for putting Pete Dunne in this group and dressing him like he's a 12-year-old in the 1950s selling newspapers at a women's baseball game, changing his name, putting him in this ridiculous faction, the Brawling Brutes. But like we see a lot of times with Sheamus, he gets shit over. And the Brawling Brutes are suddenly not as annoying as I once found them. They got off to the terrible start, bringing Pete Dunne in and changing his name. And then, of course, what Ridge Holland did to Big E. And they just weren't doing it for any of us. But, you know, they've started to impress. And, of course, you know, Sheamus, he's just an ass kicker, man. So it's turned out to be a faction and a trio that I don't necessarily hate as much as I used to. And this match was all kinds of fun, beating the hell out of each other. Good old-fashioned Donnie Brook is exactly what it was. And the Brawling Brutes picked up the win. After that, we got our first of a few backstage segments, a series of segments involving The Miz and the Philadelphia Flyers mascot. I forget what his name, Gimpy or Shitty or something like that. So Miz is just back there being interviewed. Miz, a man not booked for the show, has nothing to do with Extreme Rules whatsoever, just randomly interviewed backstage. And then he sees the Flyers mascot and then wonders why he's there. I don't know. Maybe that's the building that he's the mascot in and the team that he plays for. Incidentally, I believe I've been to this building. This is the site of WrestleMania 15, correct? I was there. So he gets pissed at the Flyers mascot, and that would be the first of 3 or 4 times we would see those two idiots interact backstage. Then we get the Extreme Rules match for the SmackDown Women's title. Liv Morgan defending against Ronda Rousey, and this was one match that I predicted incorrectly. Thought Liv would find a way to escape here. I thought the table was set perfectly for a Charlotte return. We even saw a Charlotte video package tonight, ran video packages for several wrestlers. I think The Miz got one, Charlotte got one, Bianca got one. Maybe somebody else. So they've been doing that lately on pay-per-views as well to help fill the time in between matches. And I thought that this would be perfect for Charlotte to come back, considering she got her arm broke by Ronda Rousey. She could come back, get revenge, help Liv Morgan retain the title, and then her and Ronda can resolve or resume their issue. And Liv can keep the title and maybe have a little bit of a run with it and go work with somebody else next before you take it off of her. That's what I was hoping would happen here. And I was wrong. I still think it was a pretty good match. Liv had a lot to prove. She's been showing her edge lately on TV. Of course, she had the big senton top rope table bump to Lacey Evans a couple weeks ago on SmackDown. She's really been fighting hard. I have to give her that credit. I still feel like she doesn't connect on the level that a Sasha or a Bianca or a Charlotte or anybody like that does. But that doesn't mean she can't get there. And I think this program that she's had with Ronda and her run with the title is going to be great experience for her, and I would have been totally fine with her finding a way to defeat Ronda Rousey here and keep the title. And Ronda toyed with her at first, but Liv was fighting hard. I mean, she not only fought and survived a lot of Ronda's early onslaught, she was able to turn the tables on her a couple of times as well. At one point, she hit that I guess that code breaker on a chair to Ronda that looked really good, and I was convinced that she might actually get a clean win over Ronda, or a clean Extreme Rules match win, I should say, over Ronda. And Ronda kicked out at the last minute. Another really crazy spot that I thought would be the finish for sure, when she got Ronda on the tables in the ring. Liv goes to the top rope. She delivers another senton onto Ronda. Table breaks, and Ronda is able to kick out very close near fall there after the table bump. But since Liv is kind of still laying on her and they're in an awkward position, Ronda is actually able to lock her right into an armbar, which Liv really tries to escape out of, trying to roll through it a few times. And Ronda spends a lot of time readjusting her position, trying to get everything just right. And the way she was angling and torquing everything looked really gnarly. And she finally got a hold of Liv in the way she wanted. I don't know if it was a half triangle choke, armbar, whatever the hell it was, but Liv's face was just like mashed up against Ronda's leg, and she's just choking really hard. And then I swear I see Liv Morgan smiling. And I'm just thinking, it just looks like she's smiling. She's actually trying to sell it with pain, but maybe because of her makeup or the way her face is smashed up by Ronda's leg, it just kind of is giving the effect that she's smiling. And it really looked like she was wrenched hard, like her neck and face and everything was twisted pretty good. And she basically just passes out. The referee calls for the bell. Ronda Rousey wins the SmackDown Women's title via submission. And after the match, camera goes back to Liv Morgan, and she's kind of smiling again, and she's kind of laughing or giggling a little bit. So I am, number one, disappointed that they didn't continue with Liv for a little longer. I understand that Liv can't hold the title for a year or anything. That wouldn't make much sense, but I thought you could do something here where she hangs onto the title with some help from some outside interference. So maybe Charlotte is not set to come back yet, or maybe they have Charlotte set to come back on TV, because now that Ronda Rousey has won the title, it feels like Charlotte, and I'm trying to remind myself that Triple H is in charge now, but Triple H isn't going to be perfect, and I'm sure he still will do things that Vince would have done. And now that Ronda is champion, that means when Charlotte comes back, we're going to get those two feuding for the title again, which I understand they're the two strongest women on that brand. Naturally, they need to be feuding for the title. But I also argue that you could have done some sort of finish here where Liv keeps the title and Ronda and Charlotte can feud without it for a little while. And then Charlotte can get back into the title scene right down the road, because, mark my words, she will be involved in a championship match at WrestleMania 39 in LA. There's no doubt about it. One way or the other, Charlotte will get there. So I was hoping that you didn't really need to rush her right back into the title picture. I was hoping that her issue would be more with Ronda than the title. But now that Ronda has the title, that means that, obviously Charlotte's probably going to return on one of these upcoming SmackDowns, maybe even this coming Friday, and confront Ronda Rousey. And boom, there you go. Charlotte and Ronda Rousey, crown jewel. We'll see if that happens. Not sure, but I hope not. Karrion Kross versus Drew McIntyre in the strap match was up next. I sometimes forget about strap matches. What the hell is the match I'm thinking of where you have to touch all four corners? I know the Caribbean strap match, that is the rule. I think in a bull rope match, you can do it that way. Some strap matches you do that way, not others, but this one was just a straight-up match with these two guys tethered to each other. Karrion Kross has just an incredible entrance. The way he comes out with Scarlett, it's such an amazing presentation, and they look so good together. It's like a Marvel superhero comic book character come to life. I don't understand for the life of me why they put suspenders on this guy and put a gimp helmet on him when they first called him up, because there was nothing at all wrong with the presentation of Scarlett Karrion Kross. It was actually one of the best presentations they have in the entire company, and the fact that they changed it was so damn insulting to me. So I'm so glad that Kross and Scarlett get a second chance here after the release, and the original kind of package is put back together. Scarlett looks amazing in this role, although Scarlett is becoming a little bit too relied upon in my mind for Karrion Kross. This match wasn't very great in terms of the excitement. It wasn't a bad match at all, but I think it lacked a little bit of the crowd excitement and some of the crowd excitement at home as well. But when they came out there, Karrion Kross would not tie up with the strap. Drew put his right on. He didn't give a shit. Give me the strap. Locked it up. Boom, here, I'm ready to go. And Kross won't do it. He's trying to stall a little bit, and then Scarlett gives a quick distraction to Drew, and that's when Kross attacks McIntyre. The match can't start, bell can't ring until both guys are tethered to each other. So Kross jumps Drew McIntyre, starts to get an advantage on him. Drew McIntyre turns the table, starts kicking Cross's ass, throws him in the ring, grabs the strap himself, and puts it on the wrist of Karrion Kross, which immediately gets the bell ring. And the match was, I guess, just a little slow. You got to remember these guys are tied to each other, and I do like Karrion Kross and his presentation, but now that I've gotten a couple of years to really look at him and look at him in the ring, I don't think he's wonderful in the ring, but I also don't think he needs to be. There's a lot of guys who aren't great in the ring that turned out to be huge stars. So I think maybe just his style combined with Drew's style combined with the fact that they were tied to each other made the match come off a little slow, but it really wasn't. They were telling a good story in the ring, and McIntyre and Kross going back and forth with each other was fun, but at the same time you have to think about how that made Kross look, because he got the early jump on Drew, and Drew was able to regain control, and then he's still whipping his ass when they finally get tied together in the match. But you had a feeling the way the match was going, Kross was going to find some way out of this. And during the ending and finish of the match, you see Scarlett get back involved again after several near falls, and she finally hits the ring, and she's got a can of pepper spray, or at least that's what they said it was, and she sprays it right in the face of Drew McIntyre. He sells it. He goes down, and Kross is able to hit him with that forearm to the back of the head and get the pin for the win, and that's perfectly fine with me. The only thing is, it seems like Kross has been relying very heavily on Scarlett to get matches won. He's a heel, so there's really nothing wrong with that, but I think it's almost, she's becoming too much of a factor in these matches. But she was the one that does in Drew McIntyre, and Kross gets a win in a match that I really felt like he needed to win. I like McIntyre infinitely more than Karrion Kross, but I also understand what you want Karrion Kross to be in the company, so he's going to have to beat somebody to establish him, to get himself over. McIntyre owns WrestleMania World Championship victories over Brock Lesnar. There's no such thing as being jobbed out once you've reached that point. So you can do a few jobs. You don't have to look any further than Seth Rollins to see how many times you can lose and still be a big factor in every pay-per-view and still be in title hunts. And I think Seth Rollins is probably going to win himself a championship on Monday, to be honest. But I don't really have any issue with the finish here, because I thought that was what you had to do, and it took pepper spray in the face to beat Drew, so it's not like he was beaten clean or choked out or punked out or anything like that. If you think this was a job, I don't know, reevaluate what you think of wrestling. I don't really think it was really that big of a deal at all, and Kross needed to win that. So now it's up to Kross to prove it to us. Throw him in the deep end there and see if he can perform. And this is one big win over a major star, and we just have to see if he can keep it up. I want to see if Kross can impress us and actually be a main factor and championship contender and whatnot. It would be really interesting to see if him and Roman ever butt heads. And we'll have to see if Kross and Drew do have a return match. I have a feeling they will. And with Crown Jewel coming up, I could see maybe another stipulation match here between these two, or some sort of another match that I think Drew McIntyre will probably win. If they do run this one back at Crown Jewel, or perhaps they might even just do it on TV. But we'll see where they go with Kross and McIntyre. I don't think the match was bad at all. I still think the story they needed to tell was there, and it was a good win for Kross. That's all positive for him, but maybe just in my mind, the match was a little bit underwhelming. Wasn't exciting as I was hoping it would be. We then cut backstage to more Miz mascot shit. That was all I would allow myself to write down in my notes. Miz mascot shit. They saw each other. Miz said a bunch of stuff, and they cut away. Next up was Bayley challenging Bianca, I should say, for the Raw Women's title in a ladder match. And I was really hoping this one would be good, because I think, like I said earlier, I feel like Bayley's just a little flat or something. Something's a little bit off with her since her return. A couple of matches she's had, too, on TV, I felt like weren't very good. So I was really hoping that Bianca and Bayley would tear the house down in this ladder match. And they didn't exactly tear the house down, but it was still a really good match. And another match that I got wrong. I had one title change predicted on the show, and I thought it would happen in the other women's championship match. I thought I thought it would one title change on the show. I thought it would happen here, with Bayley beating Bianca, not in Ronda and Liv Morgan. So I had those two reversed, and Bayley and Bianca had a good little ladder match here. They started out hot all over the ringside area, but it wasn't very long before Damage Control showed up, they were referring to the fact and mentioning the fact that Asuka and Alexa Bliss were kind of taken out on Raw last week. So the story here was that Bianca wasn't going to have any backup and Bayley was. It's a ladder match, so there's no rules. You can do whatever you want in this thing. So I was surprised Damage Control didn't come out there earlier than they did, but they finally showed up when Bianca, I think she hits a KOD or something on Bayley, and Bayley rolls out of the ring, and Bianca's like halfway up the ladder, and I'm like, Bayley's not going to be able to get back in the ring in time to stop her. And then you kind of hear the crowd reacting and in run Io and Dakota Kai to pull off Bianca off the ladder, but she winds up kicking the shit out of the both of them, even lifts them both up on her shoulders for a double KOD, which was great. And that's when Bayley kind of takes advantage, almost gets up to the top of the ladder to grab the belt, but Bianca comes around the other side and uses her hair as a whip to get Bayley off of the ladder, and then she winds up picking up Bayley in KOD position. A lot of clutter, a lot of debris, a lot of stuff in the ring. She's trying to find a place to drop her, and Bayley is holding on. It looks like they broke a ladder in half, so Bayley's hanging on to like half of a ladder while Bianca's got her in her shoulders for KOD, but there's also a lot of ladders and shit in the ring. So she finally finds a clear area, boom, nails her with a KOD. Bayley sells it wonderfully. She's completely disposed of now. And Bianca, after taking out all three members of Damage Control, excuse me, she is able to ascend the ladder and retrieve the Raw Women's title in a great finish, great crowd reaction from the fans. I loved to see that. I was happy to be wrong. I love Bianca. I'm in no rush to see Bianca drop the title. She's fantastic. So this was a big win for her, and I think WWE really needs to make her Charlotte-level material. I really do. She is just so good, so stupidly good, and I'm glad she got this win. Even though I predicted her to lose, I only predicted her to lose because she was in a match where she could lose without getting pinned. That was really the only reason I thought that she could lose here. So the fact that she continued on her winning ways and continues to run with the belt makes me think that she might hold this thing for the rest of the year, since we are now in October. And I don't know what she'll be doing at Survivor Series, or if she will have any sort of major title defense between now and the end of the year. But we might see Bianca head all the way into the Royal Rumble and possibly even WrestleMania with the championship. And if she did that, that means she should probably drop the title to somebody. And I wonder who that somebody would be. If you have a long-running babyface champion who's going to drop it to a heel, that's a little bit different scenario than a long-running heel champion who's going to drop it to a face, because a lot of times you can see the writing on the wall. It's a little more difficult when it's the other way around. So if Bianca does not drop that belt and she's champion in LA at 39, you know she's got to drop that belt. She can't retain again, can she? Maybe she will. Maybe she will. We'll see. But I'm happy that Bianca got the win here. I fucking love her, and she's the best. So Bianca continues her run. We will see what they do on Monday with her and Bayley, if something continues here, and if we might see the return of Sasha or Naomi. They were both trending all night on Twitter. A lot of fans were wondering if they would show up or, come out in perhaps this match. I even pitched the outlandish idea in the predictions yesterday that maybe that was assuming Bayley won tonight. Bayley won the title tonight, maybe on Raw. You have Sasha and Naomi return. They challenge Io Sky and Dakota Kai to a match for their tag team titles. Those are ours. We gave them away. They belong to us anyway. Let's have a match tonight. And then Bayley turns on Io and Dakota and forms a new and improved Damage Control with her old friend Sasha Banks and Naomi. But that's a little bit far-fetched, but I also thought would be really, really fun. But Bayley falls short. We will see on Monday if they have any fallout with Damage Control. Is Bayley going to blame either one of them for not helping her out or not getting the job done? The fact that Bianca was able to fend off all of them makes them look pretty bad. So we'll see if Bayley does the typical heel thing and blames everybody else but herself, or if we get another match between Bayley and Bianca either on Raw or at Crown Jewel. We will see. We'll find out. After that, we had the spectacular Edge versus Finn Balor I Quit match. I was looking forward to this one, maybe the most, just because I think it's an interesting match with Edge and Balor. Balor's a guy that Edge has always wanted to work with. We've heard of possible pushes coming Balor's way here in the future, and this could be the beginning of it. And in the predictions, I I predicted much like the preview, much like the cross match, I just felt like this was one that Balor had to win. Edge, if he's to be believed, he wants to retire next summer in Toronto, as he said on Monday Night Raw a couple of weeks ago, or at the end of the summer, whenever it was. And if this is his final year in the business, he should try to at least put a few people over. Feels like that's what he would want to do. And this is an excellent opportunity to do that because we laid out all sorts of scenarios in the predictions about how the finish could go. And for me, with Edge really only having Rey Mysterio as backup, and that's weak backup because he's so distracted with everything going on with Dominic, that Judgment Day's in a really good position here just to threaten Edge's family in some way and get to the finish here. And I thought maybe they would show Beth Phoenix at ringside or whatnot. We didn't see her throughout the whole match, but as we would come to see, she would become a factor. But the match begins with really interesting, I should say, new entrants and new gear, sort of, for Finn Balor. Sounds like he's got some new music. Now, the music, from what I could hear, had a little bit of the elements from his previous theme, but was also completely different at the same time. So I'll have to listen to it again. I'm sure it's floating around YouTube somewhere. Get another listen to it. But from what I could hear, it sounded okay. It sounded pretty cool. What was odd, though, is that Balor comes out wearing just a black hood, or maybe a black mask, like a wrestling mask, but it's completely covered. There's no eye holes, no nose, no mouth. It's completely covered in metal spikes. From a distance, it looks like the mask that Demolition wore when they started wearing masks for a brief time near the end of their run. It looked like he was either becoming the fourth member of Demolition or auditioning for Pulp Fiction 2, Revenge of the Gimp. It looked weird, and it was spiky as hell, so I'm assuming he can see through this thing, obviously. And he comes out to the ring with this new entrance and this new music and this kind of a new look. And I wasn't sure what I was looking at. It might take me a little while to get used to this. I'm not sure how the fans really feel about the spiky mask. What did you guys think of it? It looked a little weird, I'm not going to lie, but maybe it's going to be something that grows on us and winds up being really cool. What I didn't understand is that mask looks incredibly dangerous. If you punch that mask, you're going to draw back a bloody stump. If you get headbutted with that mask, you're going to have holes in your face. This is an I Quit match. There are no rules. Why didn't Balor just leave the mask on? Why did he take it off? The thing's a weapon, man. You know, imagine taking a Dynamite Kid top rope headbutt with that thing on. That would be crazy. So I don't know why Balor just didn't leave it on. But the whole look was interesting. I'm curious to read what you guys thought of that. Yeah, a lot of people brought up Hellraiser as well with the spikes and maybe some other examples of what that looked like. There was a small eye hole on it. I didn't see that, TGA Gaming. I guess I didn't really get a close-up look at it. So I'm not going to shit on it right away. Like Deshaun is saying, I'm not going to lie, I thought the mask was badass, so I'm not going to automatically shit on it, but it was a little bit jarring to see that and see him wearing that. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell am I looking at here? But like I said, this could be some part of something bigger for Finn Balor. I'm sure he had, a little bit of influence as to what this new look is going to be. I don't think he just showed up to work one day and they're like, here, wear this. I just don't think that's the type of stuff we're going to see under the watch of Triple H. So I'm sure he had a hand in a little bit of this. And like I said, maybe it'll make more sense as we go. But that was an interesting start to the match here. Balor coming out with completely new spiky headgear and new music. New entrance for Balor. The match starts with your typical brawl, very similar kind of maybe to Austin and Brett at WrestleMania 13. We get the scenic tour. These guys brawling through the crowd, in through some of the corridors, all around the humanoids and the fans as they're screaming and yelling. And, of course, there's a lot of ask him with the microphone there and a lot of heavy man breathing. If you guys are a fan of heavy man breathing, you will love I Quit matches because there's a lot of it. No. So that's all you ever hear in these things. You get that fucking microphone away from those guys. So anyway, they're brawling everywhere. Finally, they get through the brawling into the arena. They're back around ringside. They're finally back in the ring. And after about 15 minutes, we finally see Damian Priest show up along with Dominic. Edge fights him off at first, spears everybody, gets rid of Dominic Priest on the outside of the ring, and then goes for a basically a tope spear through the ropes onto the entire faction of Judgment Day sans Rhea Ripley, takes out all three of the guys. He's back in the ring now, and I think he's got Balor. He's sized up or something in the ring, and he's got his hands on the rope, and that's when Rhea Ripley appears with handcuffs, and she handcuffs Edge's wrist to the top rope. And that kind of renders him completely helpless. So now he's standing there handcuffed while all the members of Judgment Day get to stand in front of him. And he tries to fight him off. He's got one arm. He gets one good punch in on all of them, but then they swarm him. They get him down, and they just start torturing him. Absolutely torturing Edge. And I'm like, is this going to be the way it's going to go? They're going to just torture him until he gives up. I feel like somebody's got to run out here. There's an entire locker room full of baby faces back there. There's not one person back there watching this that thinks maybe someone should go help Edge. Finally, Rey Mysterio's music hits. He comes out. He starts taking out Balor and Priest, and that's when Dominic stops him, nails Rey, starts beating the shit out of his father, to an amazing heel reaction from the audience. They hate Dominic. This entire deal got great heat for Judgment Day, I think. It was awesome. Finally, after Dominic takes out Rey Mysterio and Edge is back at the mercy of Judgment Day, Beth Phoenix shows up with a kendo stick and just beats the hell out of everybody. Wears out Balor, wears out Priest, even chases Dominic away, and then we get it. The face-to-face, the face-off with Rhea Ripley. The two start brawling, and Beth is able to hit a spear on Rhea Ripley, take the key, go unlock her husband. Thank God it worked. I got so nervous because I knew the minute Edge got handcuffed to the top rope, I said, he's going to have to get out. And anytime you have anything in wrestling involving a key, it just never works. Nobody can ever get it done. The most recent example of this was that Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns match where they couldn't get the cuffs off of Roman, and it happens every time. I just don't think they should be playing around with handcuffs and stuff. But luckily, Edge and Beth are pros, and they got it done. Beth was able to unlock Edge, and Edge hits Balor with 3 brutal spears while taking out the rest of Judgment Day. And then before Edge is about to finish off Balor and ask him if he says, "I quit," Rhea Ripley hits Beth Phoenix from behind and reveals that she nailed Beth with brass knuckles. Beth is completely unconscious. Judgment Day regains control of Edge, and they hold him down while Finn Balor climbs to the top and hits Edge with 3 coup de grace. So he got 3 spears to Balor, and then Balor pays him back, hitting Edge with his finisher 3 times. And then they've got Edge held up, Priest and Dominic. And then Balor's got the mic, and they ask Edge, and he goes, "Go to hell, go to hell." And that's when Rhea Ripley threatens to do what I basically predicted. I kind of envisioned a scenario where Priest and maybe Ripley, or Priest and Dominic, or Priest and Balor, or somebody like that, grab a hold of Beth's arms and threaten to tear her apart if Edge doesn't say, "I quit." This was even better because now Beth is already unconscious, getting hit with the brass knuckles, and they put her head laying on a chair, and Rhea threatens to concerto Beth unless Edge says, "I quit." So that's exactly how we thought the finish was going to go. Great way to give Balor the victory here, just to threaten to harm Beth. Of course, Beth's husband is going to do whatever he can to spare his wife, any pain or damage. And so Edge finally says, "I quit," in the microphone, and then Rhea Ripley does it anyway. Great shit. Loved it. Amazing boos from the audience. It even pissed me off. I wanted to reach through the screen and wring Dominic's fucking neck. So I loved it. I loved the way it was played off here. The whole match was great. The story they told, the ending, even though I even made a tweet about this a couple days ago. I said, I feel like Judgment Day threatening Beth is a predictable finish, but a necessary one. It's a one that I want to see. It's one that I think will be executed well. It'll be great. Edge is a great storyteller, especially with his facials and his demeanor and stuff, and to watch Edge have to witness his wife get assaulted like that. I knew they would pull it off well. It was great. It got Judgment Day a ton of heat, and maybe this is what Judgment Day needs. The crowd really needs to react and hate this heel faction that's just, ruining people's lives and breaking up families and stuff, and they're maybe finally starting to accumulate a little bit of heat here, and I thought the whole thing was awesome. So we will see how pissed off Edge is now and what this leads to. I feel like if we are going to get a Rhea Ripley and Beth Phoenix match, is that something we get at Crown Jewel? Is that where we see it? Feels like a good spot for it. We could also get a mixed tag of some kind. Could always get a three-way mixed tag of some kind, or six-person, I should say. Maybe it's Ray, Edge, and Beth against, I don't know, Priest, or maybe Balor, Dominic, and Rhea Ripley, and Priest on the outside. I don't know how that would work. They could always do a mixed tag type of deal. But I don't know. It's hard enough. It was hard enough for them just to get a women's match approved in Saudi Arabia. I don't know if we can have any mixed tags, unless we already have had one. We might have already had one. Who knows? Who the fuck knows? All I know is I feel like something could be done there for Crown Jewel. It'd be great for Edge and Beth to go get some of that money, and do a match over there. And if you were going to do Beth Phoenix and Rhea Ripley, that seems like a good place to do it, unless you want to try to get it done here in the States on TV. But we've got Survivor Series coming up after Crown Jewel, so that feels like it might be more team-oriented, or maybe not. I guess I shouldn't have that mentality anymore, since I think Survivor Series is just going to be the 2 War Games matches, possibly with singles matches on the card there. But Survivor Series might be a little too far away to do to do Beth Phoenix and Rhea Ripley. They might have to do it in Saudi Arabia. We will see. You guys let me know where you think that match might wind up taking place. Then we go backstage for more Miz mascot shit. Now, I think the theme of the night here was that the fans and the Miz were under the assumption that Dexter Lumis was under the mascot mask or whatnot. So finally, we're backstage again with these two. Miz finally has enough. He beats up the mascot, punches him and kicks him and throws him down. And then behind him, Dexter Lumis appears, grabs the Miz, chokes him out unconscious, and helps up the mascot, who says thank you and walks away. So more Miz and Dexter Lumis stuff. Dexter continues to stalk and choke out the Miz. So the Miz just cannot go anywhere. If I'm the Miz and I'm not booked for a pay-per-view, why are you going to go make yourself a target? Just stay home. Just stay in the hotel. Order room service. Just get, some nice fettuccine Alfredo and a cookie for dessert. Just stay in. Order Spanktervision. Whatever you got to do. Just don't go to the arena, because you're going to get choked out by Dexter, who got to Miz again. And then it is time for the main event. We were wondering all day long what the main event would be. I kind of thought it should be Edge and Finn Balor, but I can understand why it wasn't, because I think the finish to Edge and Balor with that much drama, it wouldn't have flowed well to have the Wyatt return right after that. That would have been like too much to take in. The Riddle and Rollins finish, to me, I almost thought might have came early. I thought maybe Seth got hurt or something, and I called for an early finish. It really took me off guard. I wasn't expecting it when it happened, but then again, it didn't have my full attention because I was getting ready for the stream. So I feel like this match was probably put on last, because in WWE's mind, it made for the best spot for Bray Wyatt to return if you're going to do it separate from a match, and Riddle just kind of gets a submission win and then he's celebrating, then boom, Wyatt comes back. But if it happened after Cross's win or Edge's win, I think some fans might think that they might be associated together, because Edge and Cross have both been linked to the Bray Wyatt rumors the whole time. So I think that's probably why we saw Riddle and Seth here in this Fight Pit match. I remember these from NXT, because they had a couple of them there. I know Riddle had one with Timothy Thatcher. Where is Timothy Thatcher, by the way? Why don't they bring him back in? I loved him. And it's a weird setup because it's a cage, but they take the ropes away, which I had completely forgotten about. And they lower the cage, and then the cage has got like a top platform to it with another cage around that. So it's kind of like an upside-down, halfway inverted version of WCW's 3 Stages of Hell cage. Looks really bizarre. So, and with the ropes off of the ring, it looks really bizarre. And so the cage is hanging above the ring first. So the guys make their entrances. I guess there's no door on this thing. The guys make their entrances before it's lowered. So as Riddle's coming out, I'm getting Big Show and Akibono flashbacks from WrestleMania 21, just seeing a ring there with 4 posts. So both guys come out. Props to Seth Rollins, the master of the tribute gear. We've seen him do Rey Mysterio's Halloween Havoc gear. We saw him come out with Dusty's polka dots when he wrestled Cody. I think he's done tributes to Bam Bam Bigelow before, and now He's doing a tribute to Rob Van Dam. Comes out with some airbrushed gear, got his hair pulled in a ponytail just like Rob, does the whole thing when he comes out. It looked great. It was awesome. I love that Seth does that. I love that that's part of Seth Rollins' deal, is coming out in pay-per-views with themed gear like that. It looks so good. And he showed up, and the match is underway here. Of course, we got to mention that Daniel Cormier is the special guest referee for this thing, and he looks like a guy, let's just say he's been enjoying retirement. I think he's been enjoying them double cheeseburgers, too. I wasn't sure. I was thinking Urkel was going to run in and do a run in here. I thought fucking Carl Winslow was refereeing this match. But DC was a cool guy to have referee this thing, because it does remind me a little bit of, when Shamrock was involved with the Brett and Austin match, and then Dan Severn was involved with the Owen and Shamrock stuff and that Lion's Den thing. So it's cool that they had an MMA guy here involved in this, especially with someone like Riddle in the match, who DC has history with and whatnot. So all that was good. The match starts off. It's hard to really follow a match like this when there's no ring ropes. There's not a lot of typical pro wrestling action. So a lot of this stuff is Riddle, trying to wrestle with Seth a little bit. Seth cheats, gets the upper hand for a bit. He starts pummeling and pounding down Riddle, and he is the first one to ascend to the top of that platform. You knew at some point both guys are going to have to wind up there. So he goes up there, and he's just dancing around. He's inviting Riddle to come up, but Riddle's like, "You come down here." He's like, "No, you come up here." So Seth just refuses to come down. So he just starts going up and dancing and talking to the crowd and singing. And finally, Riddle gets fed up. He climbs up there. They start fighting on the top, and Riddle gets ambushed kind of by Seth as he's trying to get up there, and Seth hits him with a pedigree up on the platform, which looked pretty good. Riddle's able to recover from this and actually hit Seth Rollins with an RKO, and Seth takes the bump, and he kind of rolls off near the edge of the platform there and starts teetering on it before eventually completely falling off the platform, stumbles back down into the ring, leaving Riddle up top on the platform. And as soon as he got that camera angle, they had one guy set up on the outside of the ring looking right at Seth with Riddle right in the middle. I'm like, oh shit, we're going to get a bump here. I thought he was going to do I don't know if it's a floating bro or whatever that twisty thing is. Or maybe the senton is a floating bro. I don't know. All we knew is Riddle was going to be hitting Seth with something from up there, and he just hits him with a senton. I kind of thought he was going to go for a splash. I didn't know what he was going to go for. And I was like kind of on the edge of my seat because I thought he was going to, maybe do a flip or a twist or some sort of acrobatic move on Seth. So when he leaps and he's not moving, I'm like, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? And it turns out just to be a senton right on top of Seth Rollins. That is a far drop, and that's just a move I think you have to be very careful with executing. You can easily break an arm if you land on the guy wrong, and I hope that Seth wasn't injured in that, because it was pretty shortly after that we did get the finish, but it looked really good. They had several different camera angles of it, including an overhead shot, which looked spectacular, and right after that, that's when Riddle is able to lock Seth in, I don't even know what it was, a triangle choke, armbar. Didn't even catch what the finish or what the submission hold was. And Seth eventually winds up tapping out. And referee calls for the bell, or Cormier calls for the bell. So it seemed like it was really quick. But then again, this wasn't your typical match. There was no ring ropes. You had a special guest referee. Nothing really flowed the way matches usually do. But I think it did tell the story of Riddle being a better fighter than Seth Rollins. And with that quick finish like that, the way it kind of, like, I was doing something over here with the match on here, and so I might have been typing, and then I just see Seth tapping, and I'm like, oh shit, it's over, and I'm like, that's a weird finish to be in the main event. That was what gave it away right there, is that we were going to see Bray Wyatt, because if that was what we were going to close the show with, just Rollins tapping out and that's it, then why wasn't this match the previous match and Edge and Balor were the main event, Like, that would have been a much better dramatic way to close out the show, with Edge screaming for medics to come help his wife, and the concerned husband freaking out, just seething with rage, with the watermark and the fade to black. That's how you should have gone off the air. So when Riddle won in the manner that he did, I'm like, something's got to happen. Something's got to happen. So I wrote that on Twitter. Something's got to happen. And then Riddle continues to celebrate with DC. He's all the way in the aisleway there. We see the watermark, and I'm like, shit. And then the lights go down. thank God, here we go. Lights are down. Everybody's got their phones on. And we start hearing He's Got the Whole World in His Hands begin to be sung throughout the arena. It's a recognizable voice, and then spotlights start shining on various parts of the building, showing Huskus the pig, showing the buzzard, showing whatever else that creepy thing was. And then at ringside, there's a figure standing there with the Fiend mask. And I think a lot of people thought that was Bray, but then right after they showed the Fiend, they showed the entranceway, which had a door and a lot of smoke and a lot of effects. And eventually the door is kicked down and you see the lantern. And the fans knew the minute the lights went out that it was Wyatt, but coming through with the lantern, it's hard. It's completely dark. It was hard as shit for me to find a thumbnail worthy enough for this video in such a short amount of time here, because I'm like, there's no good lit up of images of Bray. But he comes out with that creepy mask, and I wasn't sure if he was going to leave it on, because if he came out with that mask and it stayed on and the show went off the air, I mean, is that really confirmation that it's Bray? I could see the hair. I could see the dreads. I'm like, oh, that's definitely him. And then he takes it off to reveal his old Bray Wyatt face, not his Funhouse Bray Wyatt face, and certainly not his Fiend face, but now he seems like he's more Wyatt family Bray Wyatt, or the Bray Wyatt that was feuding right with Randy Orton in 2017. What was it, that weird match that they had the maggots in the ring and shit? Was that like 2017, like 5 years ago? Like that, when Bray Wyatt was champion. That Bray Wyatt. So he is back now, and I don't know, with all of the other references to his previous persona, if that means he's shedding that and this is the new Bray Wyatt, or are we now getting yet another version of Bray Wyatt? Can he still do Funhouse stuff? Because they showed images and video of the Funhouse with cobwebs and with broken up, distorted music. So I can't tell if, that's him just shedding that skin completely and this is the new Wyatt, or you don't even know what you're going to get with this guy. Is he going to be a combination of who he was before? Is he going to resurrect the Fiend, excuse me? It feels like that part of his persona kind of is dead, the way we saw it, lose at WrestleMania, and maybe it is time to shed that completely. But incorporating a little bit of who he was would also be fun, because the Fiend was a big deal. And if that's going to be part of Bray Wyatt's presentation, that's going to be interesting. If he does have multiple sides to his personality, and he has different faces and phases that he can go through, we don't even know. We have no idea. That's the great thing about this. We have no idea what Bray Wyatt's motivation is, or what he's going to do, or what he's going to feud with. Like, literally no idea. So that's what makes it fun. And we don't even really totally know if we're going to see him on Raw, or if we're going to see him on SmackDown. We don't even know at this point where he's going to return and what he's going to wind up doing. So it should be fun finding out on Raw if anything happens, because it's a big night. It's a season premiere. We've got the big DX 25-year celebration going on. We got a new announce team kicking things off on Raw. So it would be fun to see Bray Wyatt there, and for him to offer some kind of explanation as to what he's doing and who he's going to target, and what the creative plans are for the guy. You know what I mean? So fun times, and a really awesome Bray Wyatt return at the end of that. So I will see what you guys had to say about all this. Why are we deleting Mango? What, Mango Salsa got a lot to say? What is wrong with you? Who are you talking to? Okay, I don't even know what your problem. Yes, just keep deleting Mango Salsa. He's going crazy for some reason. I have no idea why. No idea what's up your butt, Mango Salsa, but you need to chill out, son. Relax. Take a pill. Let me see. Where do we leave off here? I guess I got a few super chats coming in. Spectra, I haven't got you yet. Welcome back, dude. Appreciate you being here, and thank you for the $5. Did you hear about Sarah Lee dying? I don't know if the cause was announced, but she's a few months younger than me, which terrifies me. That was horrifying news. I should have brought that up in the beginning of the stream here. But yes, I did hear about Sarah Lee passing away at the extremely, insanely, stupidly young age of 30. I never watched any of those Tough Enoughs, so I didn't even really know who she was, to be honest. I watched the first 2 Tough Enoughs, like the one that Josh Matthews was in and Maven, and maybe I think the next year, but never watched any other renditions of it. And I think she won in 2015. And when I tried to read up on her, like what happened to her, why I never saw her on TV. I don't remember seeing her ever in NXT. And she was released, I think, just a year after she won that. But she was married to, is it Wesley Blake? And they have 3 children together. And of course, she knew a lot of people in the business. There was a lot of love, outpouring of support for her family and everybody affected by her death. And to me, my heart just goes out to her kids and her husband. That just sucks. So no idea the cause of death. It's irresponsible to speculate. People that young usually don't just drop dead. And I also think if this was some kind of a car accident, we would have known about it, or we would have heard that reasoning. So I hope whatever the cause of death isn't going to be something that's going to cause the family stress. I hope it's whatever the news is, it gives them peace and not the opposite of peace, But that's horrible. Felt just terrible, heartbroken to read that news. And that sucks. But unfortunately, I didn't really know much about her, Didn't really know much about her. JJ Leg, appreciate the $2 from you. Did you see the WrestleMania 40 logo? Roman numerals are back. I did see that. It looked cool, too, with like the Liberty Bell thing. My only concern about the Roman numerals is that maybe they're just doing it for 40. I know Vince didn't like Roman numerals because he felt like it made WrestleMania sound old, which is stupid. The only thing old here, Vince, is you. And I like the numbers after WrestleMania. It's easier to keep track of that way when you're trying to remember certain ones. But this year's WrestleMania should be, if Roman numerals are back, then we should see the Roman numerals at WrestleMania 39. And so far, all the logos that I've seen for the Hollywood WrestleMania don't have any Roman numerals. But maybe they're bringing it back either just for 1 year because the XL looks very cool, or they're going to begin it again at WrestleMania 40. But I saw the logo, but to me, that was not confirmation that Roman numerals are back. I think it's just confirmation that Roman numerals are back for that particular show, because you do want to acknowledge the fact that it's your 40th WrestleMania, where 39 sounds less important. It does. 39 sounds less important than 40. So I not sure if it's back permanently. I don't know. Let's see who else. Oh, Beth was great in that match. Yeah, I did hear something about Rhea Ripley. I wasn't sure about Rhea's. I haven't read up on her exact injury and what's keeping her out of the ring, but she is getting physical in there and stuff. So she is doing some things. So I think if she can get physical, she can wrestle a little bit, but maybe she's just still nursing. I guess it has been a while since she's been in the ring, hasn't it? So. We're getting another ladder match in 2 weeks at Halloween Havoc. Might be overkill now with ladder matches. I don't think so, Richard, because I don't even watch NXT. I tried to watch it last week, thinking the new logo and the old splashy paint nonsense being gone would maybe make the product a little bit more interesting, but I just disliked 80% of what I saw. Not in a bad way. It's just I'd rather just wait until these talents start creating some buzz, and start impressing people. Like, because of course I'll always, watch Carmelo Hayes and guys like that, and I know he'll be shortly up to the main roster. So I think I'm just going to start watching those folks more. But, hey, Tito, he is chewing on a USB cord to my hard drive, little asshole. So I think I'll just wait till these guys start not getting released, start impressing and getting up to the main roster to when I really pay attention to them. And I'm going to try to watch NXT as much as I can, but as my cat is fucking with my mic cord, get out of here. But unfortunately, I just haven't seen a lot of NXT that is making me think I'm going to watch it religiously. So in that respect, there's probably a lot of people that do that as well. And the fact that one of these ladder matches is on NXT, I think makes it okay. He did mess with my camera cord, didn't he? What a little asshole. Now, if there was a ladder match on Monday on Raw, then I'd kind of agree with you a little bit there, because maybe that would be overkill, but I don't think having one at Halloween Havoc is really that bad. Edge Balor was match of the year, or match of the night, excuse me. Yeah, easily, yeah. Balor and Edge, match of the year. Match of the night, excuse me. Definitely, easily match of the night. I agree. I kind of figured it would be too. I think going into tonight, I figured that's got to be the best match. It's just going to be I Quit matches are just loaded with so much drama. They're usually really good, and especially when you have one of those people being Edge, knowing he's actually going into this, many fans, I think, did feel like Edge was going to lose. That made that really interesting because Edge isn't the type of guy that's just going to say, I quit. They're going to have to do something gnarly to get him to say, I quit. And that's why the match was so good and so awesome at the end. Yeah, I kind of agree with Steven as well. I think they should move out of the PC at some point and find a larger arena. Nothing too big. I don't think they're going to fill up any arenas that Raw runs, but they had a good deal going on at that Full Sail. So if they could do something like that again, would be nice. I think the PC is a bit small. I mean, it works for them for what they're doing, but I also think that even if they changed the venue and went to a larger place, you're still presenting the same product. I don't even think really the venue would differ or make that much of a difference. NXT is just a very different product than it was 5 years ago. So excited. Bray Wyatt is back. So am I, Andy. Talking about Bianca Belair, they did run the video package for her where she mentioned her bulimia. Has she talked about that before? I thought we've had some piece on Bianca where she might have mentioned that. But she was always somebody that has been in great shape, and I think she, got a little bit deep into that, trying to, stay as strong as possible or lean or slim down or whatever she was trying to do there that helped push that along. But she beat it. Bianca's the best. She's a physical specimen. I think a lot of people kind of had Bayley coming out of this match as the winner tonight because of how Damage Control already has the tag team titles. WWE throughout history does like to do that to belt up an entire faction. They're currently doing it in the Bloodline right now. Maybe that's why they didn't want to do the same thing with the women, so the titles could be a little bit more spread out. But I thought they did set up Bianca in a great situation and a great position to lose the title, since she could lose it in a way where she wasn't pinned. She has no backup. Bayley has backup. It felt like all the stars were aligned for Bianca to drop the belt here, but she retained. And honestly, even though I was surprised, I'm not complaining. I thought it was a great match. I love the way the ending came off. I thought it was a great finish, great reaction from the crowd. Bianca works hard, man. She deserves to be champion and stay champion. But I did think they had an opportunity to take the belt off of her tonight if they wanted to. But she is still champ, and hey, that's cool with me. You guys keep hitting that thumbs up button for me if you don't mind. I'll see if you guys have any more questions. You guys want to ask me any wrestling questions, fire away. We'll do a Q&A here at the end. For those of you who are here, ask me any wrestling question you want. We'll answer a few. I'm in no rush to get off here tonight. It's Saturday night, and with these Saturday night PLEs, I take Saturday nights off of work now for that, and that's awesome. Not even drinking tonight. I had no beer in the fridge. Adult gummy is all I took. Mike, Ray versus Dom at Survivor Series. Maybe. You feel like they got to do it. I mean, they got to do the Brett and Owen thing. Of course, Ray is not going to want to fight his son. Ray is going to resist fighting his son. Brett did the same thing with Owen, resisted it until he just couldn't resist it anymore. Undertaker did the same thing with Kane. Didn't want to fight him. Finally, had no choice. Had to fight him. Daniel LaRusso did not want to fight Chosen. Avoided the fight, and then Chosen held a knife to Kumiko's throat and said, "Fight me." Daniel had to fight him. Mike Barnes, same thing. You got to fight me or I'm going to toss your bonsai tree off the cliff. You got to fight in that situation. So it's happened before, and I think eventually Dom and Ray will get to that point. Even though you don't want to fight and you want to avoid the fight at all costs, at some point Dominic's going to put Ray in a position where he's got no choice, and then Ray's going to have to take his boy to the woodshed. I don't know if you can hold off Ray and Dom until WrestleMania. I think that's a bit long. Michael Hughes, good to see you. Welcome to the family. I know you're a recent channel member. Thanks for being here, my friend. What other big matches do you see being announced for Crown Jewel? Well, I think possibly Rhea Ripley and Beth Phoenix, but with the uncertainty of Rhea Ripley's physical condition, maybe that match can't happen. I do kind of feel with Daniel Cormier in the fight pit match and the finish and everything going on there that Riddle and Seth might not be done. Maybe it's not completely over there. Also, you have to remember, like I predicted yesterday in the predictions, my belief is that Seth is going to be compensated for putting over Riddle here by winning the United States title. I think he's going to somehow win that from Bobby Lashley on Raw. And then if you do pick back up with Riddle and Seth and one more blow-off, maybe it can be for the championship. I don't know. But I feel like Seth, as much as I don't want Bob to lose the title, I really hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong on Monday the way I was wrong about Bianca and Bayley. I hope that even though I think Seth is going to win the title, if he doesn't, that keeps it on Bob, and Bob is okay in our book. We love Bob. So Rollins has been putting a lot of guys over. It feels like he's due, a little reward in return. But does Seth Rollins even need the fucking U.S. title? I mean, he's so crazy over. That belt's kind of big and shit. Big and ugly. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it's not that ugly. Some people like it. But I don't know how good it would look on Seth Rollins. And I'm really curious to see if Triple H is going to unveil some new championship belts. I would love a redesign on everything. And if Seth is able to win that brand new belt, maybe whatever the new one is will look a little bit better on Seth. But I feel like they wouldn't book Seth in the U.S. title match on Monday if he wasn't going to win it. You know what I mean? Why just redo that match again for no reason? Just to have Seth lose again 48 hours after he just lost to Riddle? Why would you even do that to him? It doesn't make any sense. So that's why I feel like they wouldn't make the match if they didn't have maybe plans for Seth to win that match. Because they already did the finish where Riddle cost him the U.S. title the first time. So I can't see them going back to that. We'll see what winds up happening. Who will face the Bloodline at Survivor Series? Well, it depends on what goes on with Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is the best. He's the best. I fucking love him. His role in the Bloodline is too entertaining to end. I hope it doesn't end, but it's going to have to end. At some point, in my mind, keep Sami Zayn doing what he's doing in the Bloodline for the next 26 fucking years. Yes, 26, not 25, 26. I could go with it that long and be perfectly fine. But WWE, I don't think we might not make it 26 days. I feel like it's something that likely has to end by the end of the year. And I think that will have, that will be a big indicator of War Games. So I think if it ends prior to War Games, then maybe Sami Zayn is on the opposite side of the Bloodline, or maybe Sami Zayn is on the Bloodline's team at War Games and he screws up or costs them the match and loses, and then finally is kicked out of the Bloodline for good. But usually, how many people are in War Games? I always thought it was 8. I suppose you could do, has it ever been 10? You guys know these stats. Has it ever been 10 people in War Games? All those WCW ones I've watched, I don't know why I can't remember if there was 5 in there. And I think there were. There might have been 5. A Dangerous Alliance and the NWO and Horsemen. Well, no, I guess 4 Horsemen. There wouldn't be 5 Horsemen. So I think there's usually 4. But it doesn't, the 5 Horsemen. But that doesn't mean you can't add more to it. So if Sami Zayn was in it, then I feel like it would be all of the Bloodline and Sami against 5 other guys on the other side. But if the Bloodline kicks out Sami, then I can see Kevin Owens coming to his rescue, and the Bloodline will face off against Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, maybe Gargano, since Owens is messing around with him right now. I don't know. But it's probably just going to be a mishmash of guys taking on, a really strong unit. So it might, the Bloodline's probably going to continue to reign supreme, like I said, unless Sami Zayn gets in there and costs him the match. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn taking the titles from the Usos would also be fun. It would be fun to watch them take the titles from Jay, because Jay hates Sami, but Jimmy likes Sami. Jimmy adores Sami, and I love that about the dynamic. I love that the Usos don't just share a brain. They actually have different personalities and do different things. And watching Jimmy get along so well with Sami is equally as entertaining as watching Jay hate him. Just the way Jay looks at him from across the ring, and he's always reacting just with disgust in regards to Sami Zayn, and I love it. It's so entertaining, and it's one of the things WWE is doing absolutely perfectly. It's fucking fantastic. Love it, love it. Yeah, I wonder if WWE can get AEW to allow Regal to send in the announcement. War Games. Oh, yeah, they did a 3 versus 3 versus 3. That's right, JJ. So they've done variations of it. So you can certainly put 5 on each side. Do we have, what the hell is going on? Why can't I think right now in WWE? What are our other factions right now in WWE besides the Bloodline? What's another group of men? Imperium. Holy shit, Imperium. There's only 3 of them, though. Brawling Brutes, only 3 of them. New Day, only 2 of them at the moment. So there's no group as big as Bloodline unless you add someone to it. Undisputed Era's gone. That would have been good, Undisputed Era and Bloodline. That would have just been fun. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, what's up, How Wheezy? How you doing? Greg, I had a blast. Got to meet Ripley and Dominic and Io and Dakota. They did a meet and greet before the show. That is awesome. I forgot you were at the show tonight. A lot of our listeners were at the show. I got several tweets from you guys and some pictures from the stands. That's awesome. I'm glad you had a good time. How Wheezy, that's awesome. You met, let me see. I have not met any of them. Yeah, any of them. That's awesome. Ripley and Dominic, that's cool. Dominic lives in my city, but I've never seen him around San Diego. Rhea Ripley, that's awesome. Io and Dakota, great. I'm really glad you got to meet them. I like all of them, to be honest. That's cool. That is great. Oh, yeah, and by the way, Legado del Fantasma returned last night or debuted on the main roster last night on SmackDown, and Zelina Vega has joined the group, replacing Elektra Lopez, which I'm fine with Zelina getting back on TV, but I don't know why she needed to replace Elektra Lopez. Could have had something else for Zelina to do, but she's going to be with them for the time being. She looks good with them. New hairdo, all blonde, and she's hanging out with them now, and they are now on the main roster. Oh, yeah, Judgment Day. They're in the main event. Judgment Day was in the main event of the pay-per-view. And not 3 minutes ago, I said, what other groups are there other than Bloodline? Can't think of any. And then I thought of a couple, and none of them was Judgment Day. But how would you get Judgment Day in a feud with Bloodline? You know, that would be interesting, but still, there's only 3 male performers in Judgment Day and Rhea Ripley. Not that Rhea Ripley couldn't get in there in a War Games match with the men and tear it up. I'm sure she could. But I don't know if Rhea Ripley wants to get in there with Roman Reigns or not. Oh, Elektra is either injured or having immigration issues for some reason. All the best to her. I just hate that she got kind of cast aside. I hope that wasn't the case, whatever the case is with her. And I hope Zelina Vega is a good fit. The entire locker room versus Bloodline. That's great. If Dominic cuts that promo on his dad that sets up that match that they will one day have, how would you want the promo to go? Well, I don't know. I mean, what does Dominic have to do to finally make Ray realize he has no other choice? Do they have to go really far with it? Like, does Dominic have to slap his mom or something? You know, because we've seen what Dominic has done to Ray. And the Mysterios have been on TV before. So if WWE brings in what's-her-face, and what's her name? Aaliyah, and the mom, and there's a segment where they're confronting Dominic, and his mom's trying to talk some sense into him. Listen to me, you know. Listen to your mother, and Dominic doesn't want to have it, and she kind of grabs him by the arm, and then he slaps her. I mean, slapping your mom, I don't know if WWE would want to put that on TV. But if he slaps his mom in front of his father, that should be enough. That should be Ray saying, okay, you've made your point. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to beat the fucking shit out of you, little boy. I'll see you in the ring whenever, and just do it. And sometimes you just got to beat the shit out of your son. Sometimes that's what you got to do. So I think Mysterio, it'll probably take something like that. I don't know if words will be enough, you know? Like, I don't know if they got face to face and Dominic is pushing Ray's buttons or saying some really, really offensive, hurtful stuff, if that's all it takes. If Dominic does something crazy like reveal Eddie Guerrero really was his dad, who knows? Maybe Angie comes out and says, yeah, me and Eddie. Who knows? But at some point, there's got to be a tipping point. At some point, Ray has to reach the end of his rope and say, I don't even have a choice anymore. I can't not fight him based on everything that's happened. Maybe Dominic rips his mask off, or Dominic goes to his parents' house when they're not home and sets fire to all of Ray's belongings or something. Well, that's arson. You can go to jail for that. But I think it'll have to take something that's just so unforgivable that Ray realizes, unfortunately, what he has to do and take out his son. Rhea could hit Mom Mysterio with a concerto. Yeah, but Ray's not fighting Rhea. The match is with Dominic, so maybe Dominic concertos his mom, Sunny. Maybe that's what we get. I don't know. Will Liv Morgan be turning heel after tonight? They've laid the groundwork for something there. She was smiling when she was getting choked out, and she was smiling at the end of the match. I do feel like Liv Morgan needs something else. I do feel like with her there is something there that's not quite clicking, even though I think she's been doing better. I think her character has been improving. I think her style has been getting better, and I think that she's been showing a little bit more of a mean streak and a little bit more, capability than she had before. But still, I think Liv is far from being a top-level tier women's wrestler in the company in my mind, as much as I love her. So if they want to change things up, I do think Liv, I don't even like her music. I don't like that they changed it. I thought the music she had sounded pretty good, and now they've got that newer version that I don't like. I look at her as the same way as Alexa Bliss. They both had pretty good themes that fit them both, and they both changed into two really, really shitty themes. I think the two of them could also make a pretty good tag team. I've thought about the two of them before. They kind of look alike. I feel like they might be able to build chemistry, and they both have excellent, facial expressions. Of course, they're very gorgeous, but at the same time, they can be both serious, fun, and crazy. We've seen it from both of them, and I think both of them would be like kind of a really fun team to watch out for. But I don't know if that's really in the cards for the two of them. But when I see Alexa has done some crazy stuff, and Liv was kind of acting a little wacky tonight, maybe they put them together. But whatever seed they're planting, I'm confident with Triple H in charge that they will see this through. Because one thing we always noticed with WWE and some of the shit they were guilty of all the time was planting a little seed like this. Like, for example, Liv Morgan would smile during the submission and, oh, fans, what does this mean? And then WWE never explains it at all. Or if they do, it's really lame. She just blows it off in a promo or something, and nothing ultimately changes with her character at all. I don't think Triple H is going to be planting seeds that he doesn't intend to sprout and grow into anything, So I'm hoping that whatever that was something, because you certainly wouldn't know it from Liv's body language going into that match that she was going to drop the title. She seemed very confident. She was wearing all Extreme Rules colors, which I thought was cute. I think, wearing the team colors of the city you're in, that's kind of lame, but I don't know what the rules are of wearing the pay-per-view colors out there. But she kind of had a little bit more of a extreme look to her with the change and everything that was going on. But when she was coming to the ring, we've been noticing lately, haven't we? I can't think of specific examples, but I know of examples in recent history, like I'm talking within the last few weeks or months, that we've been able to tell from body language. I think it was McIntyre's match with Roman at Clash at the Castle. When he came out, I'm like, that looks like a man who's going to lose right there. And Liv Morgan did not seem like she had that body language to her. I'm like, she looks like somebody that might actually come out of this victorious. And of course, she laid it all out on the line, and she, took some pretty spectacular bumps and got pretty extreme in that match, ultimately fell short, and now seems to be teasing another dimension to either her personality or her character. So don't know if it means she's going to remain a babyface with an edge, or if she might go heel. And if she does go heel, how does that work? And how does her, what's her demeanor and stuff? Because she's not the greatest promo in the world. So if she's a heel, it might be a little bit easier for her on the mic. We'll see. If you guys have any ideas, pitches, suggestions, what you think Liv Morgan can do, hit me with it. We need to try to do this after pay-per-views. Stick around and do Q&As like we used to do all the time. So if you guys have questions, fire away. We'll answer a few. Luigi, Durag Gaming, appreciate that $2. Do you think WWE would do a trios belt? I don't. I think they would be. I think it would be fun because there's lots of trios in the company. You got the Brawling Brutes and you got Imperium. When Big E is healthy, you've got New Day, and Judgment Day technically is a trio of men. So you've got some trios there. But again, you know, one of the biggest critiques, not only in AEW, but in wrestling in general, sometimes fans feel like there are too many title belts. And AEW already has the trios and the All-Atlantic to go with all of the Ring of Honor belts they have, and some of the other promotions the belts there, the IWGP and the AAAs, and all the other belts they have circulating around that company. For me, in terms of pro wrestling, even though WWE shouldn't worry about what AEW is doing, and vice versa, I think if I'm WWE, I'm like, all we're doing is adding yet 3 more championships to the wrestling universe. Is it really necessary? And I don't think it is. I kind of think WWE just focusing on the belts that they have is what they need to be doing, because it's been really refreshing to see the United States title and the Intercontinental title get some prestige again. And the belts feel like they're important. They're around the waist of 2 very credible champions, 2 badasses. And they've been both main eventing a lot of TV shows lately since Roman is kind of monopolizing the world titles. So I don't think they should defer from that plan at all. Keep running with that. And the trios title, I think, would just add more stuff that we don't need, to be honest, or more accessories that we don't need, because we got too many belts as it is. Michael Cuomo, good to see you. Appreciate the $2 from you. Worst Hitman match. Guessing WrestleMania 11 versus Backlund. Are you going to make me pick the worst Bret Hart match ever? That one's up there. You kind of picked it for me. Let me just think if I can think of a worse one. Isaac Yankem, same year, SummerSlam. Terrible match. 95 was not a good year for Bret. He did a lot of shit. He had to feud with Pierre, which was stupid. Their match was actually really good at In Your House. Or was it In Your House? Yeah, I think it was In Your House match. So I guess those were good. Pierre was good, and who else was good is Hakushi. He worked with Hakushi too. But WrestleMania 11 sucked. He worked with Backlund. That match is so terrible and so awful. But Bret won. Piper was a referee, but I preferred the match the previous year when Piper was a referee, if you know what I mean. And yeah, Isaac Yankem later on. I'm trying to think what he did in 96, if any of that sucked. Not really, man. Everything he did in 96 was great. 95 Rumble with Diesel. Then he did the match in 95 at WrestleMania 11. And then he did In Your House. He did Hakushi, and then he did Jerry Lawler, I think, right, as well. Then he did the Kiss My Foot match with Lawler at King of the Ring that year. That match was also terrible. Bret just had shit to do. Finally, at the end of the year, they got him back on track when Gorilla Monsoon one night on Raw just randomly said that Bret was going to get the title shot at Survivor Series against the winner of Davey and Diesel. And I'm like, thank God. And then that match at Survivor Series with Diesel was awesome. But yeah, Michael, I'm going to go WrestleMania 11 against Backlund. Yeah, I think that one's even worse than Isaac Yankem, to be honest. Yeah, get rid of the 24/7 title. Brian, it's still there. As far as I know, Dana Brooke is still the champion, correct? I don't need to ever see it back, but I also think it might be fun to acknowledge the ending of the 24/7 title. Triple H putting it to bed. Triple H ending it in some way. Maybe you can merge it in with a new belt, or you can have a match where the winner becomes the all-time legend hardcore champion. The winner becomes Mr. or Mrs. Hardcore, and you have some sort of a crazy match, or like a jump ball in basketball. You get the locker room around and you just throw the title up in the air and you run out of there. You open up Raw, you take the title, you throw it up in the air like a jump ball, and you just run out of there and say, when this show ends, whichever one of you is champion is Mr. or Mrs. 24/7. The title will be retired and you will go down in history as the greatest and most well-known champion of all time. And then you just have R-Truth win that. You can change the title 100 times all throughout the 3 hours. Just one more crazy night of it. R-Truth wins it, loses it, wins it back, loses it. Dana Brooke wins it. Whole bunch of random people win it. Maybe you can even get really crazy and just for no reason at all, you have somebody like, I don't know, a fucking fan in the front row. Just pick them right out. Knock the opponent down, pick out a fan, throw him on top of him, referee counts 3, and without the fan even knowing it, he just became, or she became 24/7 champion. But then you got to beat the fan. That might be hard. So then you just do a whole bunch of stuff, and whatever you do, when Raw goes off the air, R-Truth is the one holding the title. The show is over. He retires the title. He goes down as not only the Mr. 24/7, but the winningest 24/7 or hardcore champion ever, because I think he's won it 7,000 times. And you just retire it forever, and you erect a statue in his honor at WWE headquarters, and you call it a day. That's what I would do with the 24/7 title. Edge and AJ are going to team up against Judgment Day. There you go. I do feel like, I kind of feel like AJ's going heel. Don't you? Are they teasing that? Him and Rey Mysterio didn't get along on Raw. And I thought that maybe they were going to be going in a heel direction for AJ Styles. But if he stays babyface, then you can do Edge and AJ and Rey against Judgment Day. But I feel like AJ might be on his way out of that situation. Stone Cold will go against Roman. I think possibly, he's on the SmackDown brand. He just picked up a big win over Drew McIntyre. If WWE still plans to go with Karrion Kross in a main event level, then yeah, I think he will cross paths with Roman Reigns because he already did. I think that's when he made his debut or his return, remember? Was in the segment with Roman. So they've already teased that. So I think an eventual showdown between the two will be coming. But I'll say this about Kross and Roman. If Karrion Kross faces Roman Reigns before WrestleMania, Kross won't win. I think Kross has very little chance to beat Roman Reigns anyway, but I think he has zero chance to beat him before WrestleMania. And I think that honor will go to somebody else. But if they face next year or after WrestleMania or something like that, who knows? Maybe that's a big win Kross can get. Imagine the feather in his cap. But based on everything I've seen from Kross so far, it doesn't feel like he's going to be going over Roman at this point in time unless he really picks up some steam somehow. We'll see. But nothing is off the table for anybody. You got to remember, Kross just got back, and there's plenty of time for him to excel and succeed and do well. So give him some time. Still think Cody is beating Roman. I don't know. Hopefully Cody can come back full speed, full strength around the beginning of the year. A lot of people have Royal Rumble penciled in for him to potentially win, but there are still so many unanswered questions with that world title. Are they ever going to break these two things up? Is Roman going to hold both of those belts all the way into next year's WrestleMania? At this point, if they separate and ununify the titles, it's almost going to be weird to have the two titles back on TV again for the first time in God knows how long. So once they get back to that, you got to make sure that doesn't drop the value or the importance of your US and IC titles that have been getting a lot of attention lately with the championships missing. But I still think before we even think about WrestleMania or Cody or whoever is going to take this title off of Roman, remember that he's holding two titles. So when this person beats him, is he beating him for one title or is he beating him for both titles? Because another person that I think really needs to be in line in 2023 for a world championship is Kevin Owens. I think he absolutely needs to win it back. If he wins it in 2023, he will have had a 5-year drought. Dropped it in 2018 to 2017. He's already had a 5-year drought. Shit, it'll be 6 years. Didn't he win it in 2016, dropped it in 2017 to Goldberg, right? So it's been 5.5 years since Kevin Owens has been world champion. That's enough. Doesn't need to go more than 6. So at some point in 2023, I would love to see Kevin Owens get back to the world championship. But there's a whole bunch of people in the company that deserve to be champion, and they can't all be. So at some point, you're going to have to make some sacrifices somewhere, and you're going to be pissing off some portion of the audience who believes so-and-so deserves it without realizing that there's just not enough world championships to go around. A lot of people deserve it. Not everybody can have it. That's the way the business is. But I still think that Owens should get it. He should not go down as being a one-time champion in 2016 and 2017. He's got to revisit that. Bray Wyatt is back. Don't forget. It seems like they're trying to get Riddle over to be a major star. Seth Rollins at some point should get another taste of World Championship gold. So there's a lot of guys in the company, worthy of it. And Cody, you could argue he came back in an epic way. Don't get me wrong, WrestleMania and the crazy Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins, but he only came back for a couple of months before he got injured. Then he's going to be off for 7 or 8, 9 months, come back and then win your world title and walk right in the door, win it when this entire locker room of people like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and McIntyre and whoever else has been working their asses off, and you're going to walk right in and take the belt. Is that fair? So a lot goes into that thought process on who should win the title and whatnot. JJ Legg says, have Roman beat a really tough opponent. After the match, he says, here, have the WWE title. It's not important to me. With the new champ laid out, Q, A-Town down, Theory cashes in successfully. I forgot about Theory. I completely forgot that Theory has the briefcase right now, doesn't he? My only concern with that, I've kind of thought about similar scenarios as well, because if Roman were to just hand over the title, is that what you want to do? I know it's kind of been done before. Austin famously just handed the Intercontinental title over to The Rock. So some people might think that handing the belt over and just giving it up almost maybe devalues it a little bit. If it's a trophy that you don't even want, why is it worth anything then? But WWE might not feel that way. I completely forgot about Braun Strowman as well. So if they did it that way, it would basically be Roman, forfeiting the belt over to Theory. Or if he calls Theory out to the ring and just says, here, I'll lay down and you can pin me and take the title because I don't need it. That's the WWE title. In a lot of ways, I wish that a couple of years ago, Roman Reigns would have won the WWE title and not the Universal title. The Universal title is still a brand new title. The WWE title is the one that has all the history and the legacy and the 60 years of championship title reigns. So if Roman gives that belt up to keep a 5-year-old title, that's what we want, because we want his Universal title reign to remain intact as long as possible. If Roman does that, he's essentially giving away the most prestigious championship in WWE's history because he doesn't want it. So that's the only thing that worries me about forfeiting the WWE title in that way. It's because they had him come back and win the Universal, and now the Universal is the one that's got the long run attached to it. So that's the belt they probably want to keep on him, but you have to figure out a way to get the WWE title off of him without, I don't want to say damaging its legacy, because even if Roman came out and just handed it over, I don't think in 2022 modern pro wrestling, you're really damaging the legacy of the title that much. It's just the old school fan in me that doesn't like a belt that has been around the waist of the best wrestlers in the world in history and some extremely famous names, a belt that's given away because they don't want it. Andre wore that belt, man. Brett wore that. Hogan wore it. Shawn wore it. Austin, Rock, Triple H, Mankind, so many great legends basically had that same exact title that you're holding right now. And you're giving it away? Not sure how I like that. But fucking Theory walking away with the belt would be crazy. Oh, my God. And thank you for reminding me about Theory, because I totally forgot he even has the briefcase, which might be the point. Maybe that's what WWE intends to do, is kind of just have Theory in the back of everybody's mind, and then he comes out and shocks the world winning the title somewhere. Michael Cole wins the belt. Hopefully you mean the 24/7. I have not, Mike Witt, I did not see any of SmackDown, Rampage or Battle of the Belts last night. I did see that Jade retained over Willow Nightingale. I think that's all I saw. I think that's the only thing I really saw. So I did not see the Claudio swing. No, I did not. Yeah, and another thing they could do, Victor's right, you could technically do a deal, because I don't think Triple H is necessarily going to be absent from the ring. He will be making appearances. And he's going to be making one on Monday when he does the DX thing. And I think there's going to be other situations where he will be in the ring to make announcements, so, welcoming us to shows and things like that. Like I believe he did that last night on SmackDown too, right? So Triple H could come out and make a ruling. He could say, I've elected to strip you of the WWE title. So maybe that would protect it a little more than Roman just saying, I don't like it, because I don't like that at all. You know, who would not want to be WWE champion? You know what I mean? You would think Roman would be like, here, take this blue thing. I'll keep the WWE title. So I don't like that. But if Triple H hands down some sort of a ruling, if it's Triple H that says, I'm, stripping you of the title and we're going to have a tournament to crown a new champion, you cannot monopolize the titles any longer. It's been over 30 days since you've defended it, something like that. And he is just deciding to ununify them and make the executive order. But I also think there might be more creative ways to accomplish that than just having Triple H come out and make, some sort of an announcement. So we'll see what they decide. But I know it's been discussed internally. We've read multiple reports that have said that they have been tossing around ideas of how to get the belts off of Roman, one or both. And I feel like at some point they're going to have to go back to the 2 world titles, even though I'm fine if they just want to create a new WWE title belt. Maybe we will see that on Monday Night Raw. I don't think so. I still think they might separate them out. But if they present Roman Reigns with a brand new winged eagle title that represents both, and now there's just one champion again, I really am fine with that, because that means the US and the IC titles on Raw and SmackDown respectively are going to have really, really big roles. But I also don't think that it's realistic for WWE to do that or the networks to be okay with that. So that's why I think at some point they're going to have to figure out a way to ununify these things. And you can do that several different ways. I just don't know which way is the best way. So we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, Braun and Roman Reigns, I feel like could be set for a showdown as well. Strowman is on SmackDown, right? Plus they have a ton of history. It would be awfully quick, if Braun Strowman comes back and then has a match with Reigns and he puts him down, then Braun is kind of back and he's already just immediately back to being regular Braun again. He came back, he lost a big pay-per-view match, and now he's just going to be the monster among men who runs around the ring and tackles people. And what does he really do other than that on the show? So maybe they want to build Braun for a while and keep having him come out there and win squashes and beat people up and do his Braun thing. And maybe have a bigger pay-per-view match against a higher quality opponent where he wins, and then maybe builds him up to Roman, and they can finally have some sort of a run-in or a showdown on TV, and Braun can remind Roman of their history. Maybe they just pass each other backstage. I want a shot at that. And Paul Heyman's like, chill out, big man. And he's like, Roman, you know me. You know what we've been through together and all that. And, that could set it up at some point. But I don't know if it's something you want to do with Braun right away, because he just came back. If he comes back in, has a match with Roman and loses, kind of like Cross tonight. If he came in and just lost to Drew, what does he do after that? So I don't think Braun should be losing to Roman right away. But then again, I don't want Braun beating Roman either. So, yeah, new belt, WWE Undisputed Universal Champion. If they unify these belts, permanently and created one championship belt, that's what I would prefer. They've done this a couple of times before. Remember, they did it with Jericho. He won the titles, dropped them to Triple H at WrestleMania 18, and then Triple H was presented with that 2002 belt that so many of you love so much. And then after that, it was Brock Lesnar beat John Cena, or it was Daniel Bryan, excuse me. Daniel Bryan wins the titles at WrestleMania 30, and then forfeits the title. Then Cena wins them. Then Brock Lesnar wins at SummerSlam 2014. And then I forgot when they brought the old belt back, because I guess it was Cena and Orton who unified them at the end of 2013, right? Like TLC or something. Then they had the 2 belts on TV through 14, all the way up until Brock beating Cena at SummerSlam. And then I think right after that was when they re-debuted the belt that is closer to what we see now. Do I have that timeline right? So it's like 3 different times with Chris Jericho, and then with Triple H, or I'm sorry, with Triple H first, and then Brock. And, if they do it again here, that would be really awesome if they presented one championship that represents both. And now you've unified your titles again after ununifying them, unifying back together. WWE doesn't seem like they can decide what to do. I would be perfectly fine with that, especially if you created a nice looking championship that's your one championship. I would also love a scenario where if WWE does want to have two championships, I would love to figure out a way to bring back the big gold. That belt has got so much history. I mean, it's a belt that Triple H wore himself and grew up watching and has a lot of history with. And I think if anybody would be willing to do that, it would be Triple H. And if he went back to the two world titles again, one WWE championship and then one WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and you bring back the big gold, granted, it doesn't have the big WWE logo on it, but who fucking cares, man? And that would be so fun. But you would have to transition the Universal title basically into doing that. So I don't even think you would call it the World Heavyweight title anymore. I think you would just have to do a belt redesign of the Universal title, but make it the theme of the big gold. You know what I mean? And then you take the WWE title and make it like the Winged Eagle. Doesn't have to be exactly like it, but maybe with those, with some of the same type of patterns, and make a belt design that's kind of inspired by the big gold and the Winged Eagle. That would be so great. It would be so great for the fans. It would look so great on the wrestlers who wear them, and it would be so many positives all the way around. The only negative in that is that now you don't have a big, ugly WWE logo belt to give to the Super Bowl champions when they win the trophy so they can flash your logo to the fucking world. And I swear the only reason we don't have great WWE belts is for that very reason. So hopefully Triple H isn't as bad, and if these belt designs and redesigns are coming, hopefully it's something kind of cool. But that's how I would do it. I would redesign the Universal title into the big gold and redesign the WWE into the Winged Eagle. Makes the most sense. Plus it's a good way to tie yourself to your history and remind fans how long you've been around. Maybe somebody who's only a casual watcher or never watches wrestling at all, or hasn't watched it in 30 years, and they turn on WWE and they see somebody wearing the big gold, and they're like, I remember Ric Flair wearing that belt. That's still there. So I just think that type of stuff would be cool. WWE has 60 years of history and a 60-year legacy. Why not appreciate that and remind the world of who you are? And I think if you have championship belts that are, nice and pretty and modernized, but still represent what they used to look like during wrestling's glory days, I see no downside to that whatsoever. So we really need some new belts in the company. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get out of here soon. I'm going to knock out these last few super chats and questions. Would appreciate you guys continuing to hit that thumbs up button. If you don't mind, I would appreciate it. Stone Cold 10X, appreciate the $5 from you, dude. They can do like WrestleMania 2000 and do a stipulation like Jericho and Benoit and Angle with one pinfall for the belt and the second pinfall for the other belt. We've talked about that scenario as well, and that seems one that is likely. I could see a segment like that coming together where both belts are going to be on the line, but they did kind of unify them as well. Well, I guess they never technically said they were unifying them, but they were calling Brock and Roman a unification match. So if you did that Jericho, Benoit, and Angle scenario, you would also have to acknowledge that these belts are not unified, because Angle didn't unify the IC and the European. He just won them both. So WWE's been a little vague on whether or not these things are actually unified or not. I think the reason is because they don't even fucking know. And that's part of the problem with WWE when it was under Vince, and that hopefully we will see less of. So they are probably working out plans to do whatever they're going to do. I'm sure they have some ideas about what to do with the world title in the future, because they're going to have to figure it out. WrestleMania is going to be here again, and at some point they got to figure out where they're going, what they want to do, what they want their Raw and SmackDown to look like, because once all that gets worked out, then you can concentrate solely on creative, in my mind, once you get some of these kinks worked out. And I think the championship belts currently in WWE is an issue in an area that they have to figure out, and they're going to have to figure it out. Either unify them or not. Just let us know which decision it is, because it sucks as fans that we have to sit here for a year not knowing if our world champion has unified the belts or not. We just don't know, and that's not fucking fair. We need to know that for sure. So let WWE tell us and figure it out. Oh, yes, Mike Witt, thank you for reminding me. For those of you who are regulars on this channel and know that we do classic pay-per-view watch-alongs on Sundays when I am available. Tomorrow I am not available, actually. I actually will be at work, so we are going to not be doing a watch-along tomorrow, but we will be back up here next Sunday for a watch-along. But to make up for us missing tomorrow, I'm going to be up here Monday night for a Raw review because Raw is the season premiere. It's the DX 25th celebration. There's a lot going on Monday Night Raw on Monday night. We will probably see Bray Wyatt in some form on Monday, and we'll have the fallout to Extreme Rules and probably lots of stuff going down on Monday night. So we will be up here after the show to do a full review on that, so keep that in mind for Monday. But next Sunday, we will be back here doing classic pay-per-view watch-along, and I need to figure out what that one's going to be as well. I'll probably let the channel members work on suggesting some. I am going to go ahead and get out of here now. Let me just see if there's anything crazy going on in the chat. Hot take, Braun Breaker wins Money in the Bank and takes the title from Roman at SummerSlam. Holy shit. If it weren't for that name, man, I tell you, I'd be into it. But right on. Okay, I didn't miss any supers. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody's earlier. I hate when I miss one. I appreciate you guys being here with me this evening. I know on pay-per-view nights you guys have lots of options. Everybody and their mother is on YouTube after a pay-per-view. So if you hung out with me tonight, I appreciate you. Thank you for all of the engagement, the questions, the super chats, all of the channel members. Thank you as always for being here. And you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will be back up here this Monday, immediately following the season premiere of Monday Night Raw, to talk about Extreme Rules Fallout, Bray Wyatt stuff, possible new championship belts. We got new announced teams. Lots of cool stuff happening on Monday, and we will be here to talk about it. You guys have a great rest of your night, and I'll talk to you soon.